Hey, thanks so much for joining me today. So, we're going to be going over a lot, but the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to start with a conversation I had, a really enlightening conversation I had with a girl named Jen. Hi, girl named Jen. Jen's Gem. I'll put her contact down below. She's definitely worth watching. And it was about a specific, but that's not the important part of this. What I realized is that I wasn't having a conversation with Jen. I was having a conversation with myself. And I was having a conversation with myself, about myself, to myself. And if we want to take it even further, her freedom for being that reflection was so awesome that it started me having multi-dimensional conversations with myself. And I think some of you know what that means. I think others don't at this point, but you will. Because if I'm standing in front of you as a mirror, we're just helping each other remember the greater parts of ourselves. And that's really what the conversation was reminding me of, the greater parts of ourselves. And we each hold an awareness of how we view something or see something, but it isn't what we say. It's what we already are inside. And there's something really great in each and every one of us yet to be tapped into, but we're not taught how to tap into it, right? And then we start to tap into it, and then everything outside of us tells us why it's bad or it's impossible. And I call it the first layer of getting to know yourself. And I want to take a deeper dive into that today as well, and have a conversation about getting to know yourself, or knowing thyself, as I like to say, because it's a process, and it is the most important thing you'll ever do on this earth. Now, why do I say that? If it wasn't the most important thing that you would do on this earth, why would things that we call the they, the collective, be trying to keep you away from yourself? And you say, well, what do you mean? The they are, you say, well, the tree talked to me today. And then they would be someone outside in your outer reality. And they would say, really? That sounds weird. Oh God, don't turn to be a hippie on me. Whatever. The story is unimportant. The story is to point to the mathematical equation. The mathematical equation is built on everything that the universe exists on, right? So every scientist can break everything down to a mathematical equation. The Jewish religion in particular actually talks about it in greater depths in their books, about how everything goes down to numbers. And quantum is based on that same concept of numbers and equations in the universe, and how everything can be broken down into numbers. So if we don't know ourselves, if we're too afraid to get to know ourselves, there's a lot of weird things that occur from that. And that is, we think this reality system is the only reality system in which we live in. We do everything we can to hold true to that form. And we argue, fight, and ridicule others outside of ourselves, which are really ourselves, from ever stepping outside the comfort zone of the box. And the box is an imaginary box, but it's a box of thinking the same way. And I once met a multimillionaire. That's my first multimillionaire, but I met a multimillionaire, and we sat and we had a conversation. And he wrote me this thing, and he said, "Get out of the box." And I was like, "What do you mean, get out of the box?" Tell me how to be a multimillionaire. Now all of that sounds really funny, but back then I was serious. I was like, I thought I was going to be a multimillionaire by 28, and I was like, we need to get this party started. And he's like, get out of the box. And he knew then there was a box, and the box limits each and every one of us, our thoughts, our views, and our ideas. What we're told to believe and what we choose to believe are all the part of the box that you construct. And as long as you say, I believe this and this is my truth, that will be your belief and it will be your truth. It won't interfere with my truth and my belief, except in a collective conscious way of unconsciousness. And since you are part of matter and there would be no collective consciousness without you, that part of it all does matter. But we're going to take some deep dives today into all of this, and I'm going to do it in chunks because there's a lot to cover and a lot I'm discovering about myself that I'm going to share with all of you. And I'm going to take myself out of the box of fear that you're going to think I'm weird. And just be open to the idea of a conversation. So the first question I asked myself was, how have you grown so exponentially within yourself? I leave the door open of the box of myself to myself, and I let my heart guide me. But more importantly, I think about all the things that would make this world a better place, and I look to see if I can find them inside myself. These are 3 approaches that I can think of off the top of my head on how expansion occurs. And things are just scary or not possible until we step into that impossible possibility, which a lot of business people have done, which have made them incredibly successful. And I would say the whole internet business was based on that, right? So this is not new concepts. When I had a conversation with someone I really value, his opinion, I think he's incredibly brilliant. He's a botanist. A brilliant botanist. I think he's written like 12 books, something ridiculous. I won't say his name here just to respect him. But he said, what you're talking about, Susan, theorists have talked about all the way back into the 1800s. And I said, well, if we're talking about things and not applying them, so information without action is very limiting, right? But what if you already are in action, but your action is is in motion through the parts in which you're unaware of? And that would go back to the wholesome total of getting to know yourself will be the most important thing you do in your entire life. A, you get to do it for free, for fun and for free, so it costs nothing. B, there's a tremendous amount of people out in the world that are already doing it, so getting on board won't feel that awkward. And C, you come in with you and you leave with you. So your travel partner is you as you traverse the world of being a human and being a business person and being a mother and a father and a child and a daughter and a son and an aunt and an uncle, a boyfriend, a girlfriend. You get my point, right? Husband and wife. You're still with you the whole ride through. And I don't want to put a limit on getting to know yourself. So that's what this will be all about. You notice how I take deep breaths? Deep breaths are important. They let in oxygen. Oxygen provides more room inside of me. Some people just meditate on breathing in and out. That's cool too. But when you're doing yoga, you learn about breathing because as you're going into deeper positions that feel impossible, the breathing is what gets you there. It helps release something and bring in something new. Now, we could argue what that is and what that isn't, but is it really relevant, the rest of that story? Or is the action and the desire to get a result doesn't have to be specific, because you don't know yourself yet enough to know specifically what those results still even mean? I know I can say that honestly that I don't. But I still get a chance to breathe any chance and every chance that I choose. And then it even breathes, my body just breathes for me naturally. Isn't that amazing? I promise you, getting to know yourself is going to be a fun ride. And I'm going to make it my commitment to share with you me getting to know myself. Because really, that's all that's happening right now. I'm getting to know myself and I'm sharing with you in words, which may be outdated in 5 years, but whatever gets updated, I'm sure I'm playing in as well. I just haven't come into the awareness of it fully and completely, but I will, because I'm going to get to know myself, and so are you. So this is going to be fun. This is the start of getting to know yourself. Welcome. I'm going to do a few more videos today because I've been pondering on a lot of things that I've noticed about myself that I like to put into motion. So thank you for joining me in this conversation. And if you're intrigued at all, let's look for another video. Or not. Anyways, I only see Susan. And I will be looking for as many videos as you want to do. And I only see Susan in the mirror. And Susan, I love you. I'm inspired by you. And when you speak to me, there are so many parts of me that light up. And it has been so important for you to speak to me in ways in which I want to be spoken to. So I appreciate you custom making this towards me. And I love you. Mwah.